Albert Pope and Rem Koolhaas, Urban Theorists, Architects. A presentation by Sidonie McGuigan and Darnell Wims for BAS320 Urban Context 2018. Albert Pope, Architect, Theorist, Designer, Researcher. Award-winning architect, urban theorist and designer, Albert Pope is the Gus Sessions Wortham Professor of Architecture at Rice University, Houston, Texas, teaching both undergraduate and graduate programs. In 1996, Pope authored Ladders, a study on the post-war American city and urban development. This publication focuses on the relationship between urban expansion and built form, claiming that presently there is a lack of association between the two, but during the 20th century the connection has been lost. The National Endowment for the Arts and the Shell Centre for Sustainability are among many agencies to have awarded grants for Pope's design work. Pope is currently researching, actively involved and lecturing about urban design, or urban redesign, with consideration to climate change and increasing urban density.
I'm an architect, and I deal specifically with form and design. So anytime I take a look at a problem, I look at it in the context of form. And the form that I could give you is the one on the wall most immediately, is the form of the urban grid, which we already saw earlier in the day, the famous Manhattan grid, versus the spine-based form, which is the form we've been working with, that we've been producing for the last 50 years. We don't build grids anymore. We haven't in 50 years, not one block and street. It doesn't take much to look at a street map to see that. And not only that, we're down to 25% of the built environment as being structured on a grid, as opposed to what is now 75% being structured on a spine, or what we colloquially call a cul-de-sac. If the new city, if the urban reforms are going to take place, we have to respond to this cul-de-sac world. This is the non-walkable world, right? Where you have, over the last 50 years, and I'm not speaking just of the United States. The spine-based urbanism is prevalent throughout the world.
Planned cities and towns date back many centuries. There is evidence of town planning as far back as 2600 BC in the Middle East. Giza in ancient Egypt planned formally arranged workers' villages on a grid arrangement around 2570 to 2500 BC. Ancient Chinese were guided by a written city plan called the Kaozhongji, 770 to 476 BC, which states that a capital city should be square on plan and have 9 avenues running north-south and 9 avenues running east-west. Teotihuacan, the ancient Mesoamerican city, is arranged in a grid plan spanning 21 square kilometers, the largest in the ancient Americas. The Greeks made use of the gridiron arrangement, believing the equal-sized lots easily regulated growth. The grid arrangement of urban space is an ancient plan. The ordering of parallel roads allowed for continuity, equality, and ease of access. The equally divided blocks of land in between allowed for development, residences, or trade. As an urban system, the gridiron formation is referred to as a centrifugal system, or an open plan. Pope maintains that the grid literally is the city, and the city is disappearing. This, I feel, refers to the collapsing coherence of the pattern, which expresses a simple arrangement but possesses the possibility of boundless growth and metamorphosis. Pope claims the 20th century urban development has closed the previously open urban plan of the 19th century, typified by the gridiron arrangement of streets and blocks. The openness of the grid is expressed with uninterrupted streets perpendicular to each other, supplying countless avenues to one's destination. Comparing the grid to artwork, Rosalind Krauss, an American art critic and theorist, described that, by virtue of the grid, the given work of art is presented as a mere fragment, a tiny piece arbitrarily cropped from an infinitely larger fabric. Thus, the grid operates from the work of art outward, compelling our acknowledgement of a world beyond the frame. A prominent example of successful grid-based metropolis is Manhattan. The Commissioner's Plan of 1811 shows the continuous and ambitious plan for Manhattan as a city. The proposed plan extended from the existing town, already arranged in grid form, and thrust the grid extents defiantly across the island. The numerically named avenues and streets of Manhattan, crisscrossing the metropolis expanse, enable ease of transport, whether by vehicle or foot, an endless variety of choice in the route taken. Post-war, the open, infinite possibility of the grid was planned away to the contrasting centripetal or closed system, containing a boundary with known limits, a reduction in avenues, and a series of dead ends, the result of 20th century suburbanism. In a keynote lecture at the University of British Columbia, Pope refers to a series of lecture notes with a description of the cul-de-sac city, an account of the closed system as such. This path might begin on a primary urban freeway and there turn inward toward a singularly defined place. This in-turning, spiralling path from freeway to feeder, to collector, to development spine, to driveway, forms the trajectory of a closed urban system. The arrangement of the closed system appears to promote the importance of singular rather than collaborative, displacing the individual from the group and connectivity of the whole. The effect of urban arrangement on architecture is profound. A building situated in an open, continuous and social environment is perceived in a completely different light by both the viewer and resident, opposed to a building located in a closed cul-de-sac setting. Pope refers to this positioning with reference to the urban spatial field, stating that discourse on architecture is inapplicable unless the stipulations of the site and arrangement are confirmed. The effects of the closed setting give the impression of limits, reduced circulation, exposure, and lack of recognition further possibility. An open streetscape, as in this example in Paddington, Sydney, shows pedestrian activity and social interaction, implying an energy and vibrancy to the area. In contrast, this image, showing a closed cul-de-sac style plan, displays the single purpose of the arrangement, to finish a journey and encapsulate oneself in the privacy of the dwelling. Entrance to the closed sprawl arrangement is one way only, with no passage through and onward. There has been plenty of analysis of the spatial effects of urban growth and development. Lifestyle changes and the way our cities are structured are the key to making a change. Cities evolve and change over time. Density is the key to a reduction in energy consumption. Therefore, the planning of urban city space is crucial. Manhattan is a working example of the grid city, a functional example of a high-density environment, working effectively to reduce energy usage due to density and planning. In planning urban environments, Pope maintains that typology is the key, and used in conjunction with carbon-storing materials such as timber and restoration of existing green areas, a functioning cyclic carbon-reducing urban environment is possible. During a speech at Harvard Graduate School of Design, Pope presents a proposal of using areas of urban development for rotating plantations of carbon-storing timber. The plantation is then harvested and becomes the building materials for new building and simultaneously a carbon storage device. Through an integrated cycling of wood from seedling to forest to large-scale timber construction, carbon moves through the built environment, undermining the regressive separation of urban and natural systems. The carbon cost for producing concrete and steel will become unviable, and the supply of timber becomes not only less costly, but necessary. The grid arrangement of urban space is an ancient plan. The ordering of parallel roads allowed for continuity, equality, and ease of access. The equally divided blocks of land in between allowed for development, residences, or trade. As an urban system, the gridiron formation is referred to as a centrifugal system, or an open plan. Growing populations and markets' demand for resources and space creates challenges for city and urban planners. Analysis of plans that work and existing urban arrangements that don't need to be laid out, taken apart and put back together, quite possibly many times. The gridiron urban plan has the appeal of structure and logic, with the possibility of progress and extension of the existing system, the prospect of unlimited growth.
We direct our attention now to Rem Koolhaas and his opinion of the spatial model of the grid. Rem Koolhaas is known as a very opinionated architect. He is Dutch by birth. He is not only an architect, but he's a theorist and urbanist, and he is also a professor in practice of architecture and urban design at the Graduate School of Design at Harvard University. Rem has studied at the Architectural Association School of Architecture in London and at Cornell University.
We are confronting a kind of unique situation that cities are becoming so ubiquitous that they have ceased to be able to be defined as single entities with a single character. They are now almost always so big that by definition they have fallen apart in fragments, and so therefore you cannot no longer talk about a city with a single typology or morphology, but you have almost every new city now has dense parts, empty parts, low parts, and high parts, and you will notice that only if the cities are old and ancient can you actually talk about character, but if as soon as they're new or undergoing all this transformation, it becomes
The divided city. This was the theme of Koolhaas's thesis in 1972, where he saw London as a divided city. Consequently, one half of the city was more desirable than the next, and of course, residents in the undesired half would seek to migrate to the better half of the city. And this created a problem in development. One being the bad half of the city was neglected or abandoned. And to avoid this, a wall was built to prevent the entry into the good half of the city. And of course, this wall that was built was the central focus for Koolhaas. The mindset was a central theme for Koolhaas in his career. It actually defined and influenced his career very heavily. He sought to look at architectural design as one facet of his career. However, He also sought to establish the realities of the mind and the thought of the mind, the way people think, as another approach to creating solutions to the decay. Delirious New York was written by Coulos while he visited New York and observed the congestion of the city. Coulos had several concerns about this congestion, in particular in Manhattan. One, the arena of the terminal stage of Western civilization, he called this congestion. And again, he looked at the marked increase in the population along with new technologies introduced to the market. These influenced the congestion or the growing influx of persons in the city of Manhattan. Rem Koolhaas is known as a very opinionated architect. He is Dutch by birth. He is not only an architect, but he's a theorist and urbanist, and he is also a professor in practice of architecture and urban design at the Graduate School of Design at Harvard University. Rem has studied at the Architectural Association School of Architecture in London and at Cornell University. The following is a selection of various grid patterns for selected cities, including Buenos Aires, Bilbao, Madrid, Athens, Berlin, Barcelona, and of course Trieste. The grid patterns vary based on the length and width of blocks and also more prominently the objectives of the planners. Planning approaches have been in existence before the 1800s, but I'm looking at the periods from the 1800s to the present. Here we have master planning, system review of planning, and participatory planning after the 1970s. These vary in approaches from maps that were drafted showing existing and future planning to the influence of planning to be in the hands of individual stakeholders instead of just city councils. Delirious New York was written by Coulos while he visited New York and observed the congestion of the city. The concentric zone model, we have the business district as the innermost zone or the central zone, and all other zones are surrounding. The focus is, of course, the business zone where land is most expensive and most of the economic opportunities exist there.
The grid arrangement of urban space is an ancient plan. The ordering of parallel roads allowed for continuity, equality, and ease of access. The equally divided blocks of land in between allowed for development, residences, or trade. As an urban system, the gridiron formation is referred to as a centrifugal system or an open.
The following is a selection of various grid patterns for selected cities, including Buenos Aires, Bilbao, Madrid, Athens, Berlin, Barcelona, and Homer Hoyt used the sector model of urban land use to define how cities grow. Instead of using rings, he divided the city into 5 main sectors, from low class to high class, and then he included the central district for business and, of course, transportation. The design of Manhattan's grid was truly a work of genius, creating the Manhattan Henge, which occurs twice annually. The sun aligns with Manhattan's grid, and it differs by 29 degrees from the east-west to the latitudinal grid. Truly amazing. And this fascinated Coolus in his book, Delirious New York. He spoke of this grid. Algiers is a model city to study the grid. It is known for its rich history in colonialism and its development from then to the present. The French army occupied Algiers until July the 5th, 1830. The city of Algiers experienced incremental transitions in planning. From 1830 to 1840, there was military planning, followed by the birth of the European city, which was short-lived by an expansion in urban growth. And then in the early 1900s, 1914 to be exact, there was a transformation between the two world wars and rural migration. It did not stop there, however. In 1945 until 1962, housing shortages were a challenge, and it further expanded to the spatial development and urban transformations of colonial and post-colonial Algiers. Algiers, a well-planned city. A city with an original planned grid. Kashfa is the capital city of Algiers. By the 1960s, it became the central business district of the city. This chart shows the objectives that went into planning the city of Algiers during the period from 1830 to 1963.